Yes, very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, and thanks that Scots Awards has accepted our nominations for enterprise risk actually. It's going to be a very short presentation on enterprise risk and how we have implemented in India First Life actually. Now, first of all, why we require an enterprise risk management as a setup and as a framework actually. The most important concept is that for an risk culture to be incorporated, we need a framework. The second one is we need to have a reporting structures that are need to be in place. Then we need to have an importance on focus, risk, networking, and cultures. And the last one is an effective coordination between functions. Now, having said this, but this sounds like more like theory actually. Now, why we require enterprise risk at India First Life? Now we understand from a financial risk, financial activity point of view that risk is everywhere, and in financial, mostly in finance, in insurance component and banking side, we are prone to certain kind of incidents that are risk in nature, where every functions have their own way of treating the incidents accordingly. So at India First Life, what we have done is we have moved from a silo approach, specifically from a silo-based approach, to an organized risk framework approach. So what exactly we have done, that's what specifically this entire structure talks about. And since we are a 12-year of organization, we started enterprise risk from a very small scale. We have started implementing it up actually. The idea was that we started implementing what's exactly in place in the organization. What we did is we started having a policy and framework that is in place. When we say policy and framework, it basically talks about what are the risks that the organization is facing or is going to face or already faced in the last few years of its existence from the time it is born. Okay. Now let's talk about generally in insurance side, we have got four major risks. That is your insurance, business, market risk, and operation risk that is specifically faced by the insurance companies. And we have documented each one of these risk factors and the mitigation plans that are in place. Now, as insurance companies, we are subjected to certain regulatory guidelines. We talks about committees that are to be in place. This particular policy and framework, the structure of the committees, the area that needs to be looked upon are also documented out here. Now, the second point is when you talk about enterprise risk management, what we need to do. The first thing, as I've already said, why we require of enterprise risk management is to have an open culture. When we say an open culture, what is this specifically open culture? We always talks about open culture. We read across a lot about open culture actually. The open culture specifically means that the acceptance that there is a risk in the systems, the acceptance that we need to report any risk incidents. When I say risk incident, it can be any incident that needs to be reported without having a thinking that's let's say sub-base reporting a particular structure, a particular risk reporting, I should not be afraid to report. The idea is that there is a culture that we can report anything which we feel it's a risk. Obviously, there is a structural framework that are in place, what kind of incidents that you can report and what cannot be like on a discussion basis. This is one major criteria of risk management cultures actually. Another important aspect is what this open culture talks about. This open culture also talks about acceptability of risk in business decisions and the ability to document it out rather than having oral communications. This is one of the very important structures as enterprise risk implementations we have done in India First Life. Now coming back to once we have an open cultures, what's the next step to be done actually? And the next step what we have done is we have implemented and standardized process. Now, what is a standardized process? This standardized process is basically for reviewing and implementation of standard operating procedures for all its activities across the function. Now, why we require standard operating procedures actually? The standard operating procedures is required so that each and every process has got a common structures, even though the risk orientations or the regulations might be different. The idea is that the structure should be same because any employee in any of the functions may get deputed to other or may get transferred to other functions. At least the SOPs are short from standard operating procedures, should have a fair amount of idea what is that particular work domain he or she is being going to or going to start from. It's just an indication actually where we can start. Now, in India First Life, we have implemented this and it's a success for us actually. We have reviewed almost 66 SOPs that are in place. It's all been structured, it's been reviewed. Now in current FY, whichever is new SOPs are getting created, it is following the structures. Now, another of the standard structure that we have followed out here is we have implemented an exception monitoring report. Now, what is this exception monitoring report? Exception monitoring report specifically talks about implementations of risk reporting. Since in my earlier point, I've informed about open culture where people should be free enough or they should be clutter free to report any risk incidents. This exception report specifically sets the tone of what is the format of reporting the cultures so that everybody in the organization is on the same page. Now, what is the outcome of the standardized operating procedures or sorry, standardized structures or monthly exception reports? This is the idea where people who are implementing the people who are reporting it or people who are doing the day-to-day activities, they know what the risks they are getting into. They know of the processes. They know what can go wrong. They know if things go wrong, what is to be done in case. Obviously, in case of exceptional cases, there is a set level of teams that are available to analyze and get it done. Another most important thing is in case something goes wrong, what is the process to be followed? The process that is basically follows, we have a concept called as, we do for any incident that is reported, we have a concept called as we analyze the incidents based on a root cause analysis structures, where we identify the problem statements and try to implement the rectifications of the problem statements. This is something about the first three areas. Now, when you talk about enterprise risk management, an important thing that we need to understand is for any enterprise risk management to be very extremely successful, we need to have a reporting and evaluation process that are in place. Now, as part of reporting and evaluation process, anything that is reported to us, it is evaluated at enterprise risk function level in coordination with the functions that is reported at. And we try to find out what is the level of risk, what is the impact of the risk that has been, that is going to happen, and whether this particular incident is in one-off cases or it's a repeat cases. Now, if it's a one-off cases, it's understood there's a one-off 1 in 100 case that may happen or it may happen. If it has happened again, we, on the basis of root cause analysis, we try to find out what has happened resulted in the same problem has arise again and again. So we try to do an analysis of it and try to frame it out. An important area where we believe India First Life has really come across is we have a create a risk experts level at each individual function level. As of now, we have got 30 risk experts and who have been certified by IRM Institute, actually, in their level 1 certifications. The idea was to have a risk experts at each function so the enterprise risk implementation starts from the functions itself so that it goes to the top, actually. This is the other thinking. And the other thinking is like we need to create a bench strength for risk management thing. Now, enterprise risk is not the only responsibility of enterprise risk function or the risk management functions. It is a responsibility of each and every employee that has been that is working for an organization. So idea of risk expert is to have an expert within that employees so that everybody is on the same pace. If anything is happening, we can to know immediately, we can get it immediately implemented at them.
Sorry
And
for interruption. Please conclude your presentation in 2 minutes.
Super. And the last point is specifically reviews in ERM, review of enterprise risk structure. There is a 5 base structures that we need to improve. Review is a continuous mechanisms that we need to be in place. Review is specifically done at RMC level. We have a risk management committee that is a structured committee based on our IRDA regulations. We have an internal committee that is we call a sub RMC committee that are already in place, which takes note of all risk, all open risk that is available, what risk that has been going across, we do it out. And obviously, what we present out of this reporting and standardized structure and open culture is we have an implementations called this heat map structures, where it's a 5x5 matrix. It is a concept of probability of happening of an incident and the severity of the case. Now we go to the next page, actually, since I've got only 2 minutes in left, I'll go to what are the challenges that we have faced. The challenges that we have faced is embedding the risk culture in an organization is the biggest challenge, because risk culture is not a one-step activity, it's a continuous process. So your engagement with risk experts and the functions is a continuous process. And it is not at all a one-time project that we do the one project one time and we try to close it up. That's not happening. That's a bigger challenge, actually, because it's a time and effort thing that we need to implement. We keep on have to do this activity time and again, so that we come to the top at the side. Now, on an innovation side, what innovation we have done. We have used the concept of cost, time, and quality in our SOP evaluations criteria. Now, whatever SOPs that is the structured SOPs that we talked about, we have used a concept of if there is a process, what is the cost, what is the time taken, what is the quality if this process is implemented. The entire structures of our SOPs has been based on CTQ actually, which is I believe can be implemented across any of the organizations. Now, out of this challenge and innovations, how we have come across, the idea is that we do have a challenges, we do have an innovative structure in place. What we have done is we have a risk expert strength that we have implemented across the organization. It's up and running as of now, and we are going to do it for the time for continuous basis also. We have an open cultures that accepts risk. They are not afraid of reporting. The other point of view is we have a reviews and meetings that is done on continuous basis. Anything that is being seen or being noticed, the functions or anybody is free to contact us or contact the managers and have a discussion that this is what you're is in the right time to report, is a risk that you need to look for, or is it a normal business case? That is something as a structures we have implemented. Yes, it did take time, but it's a success in our organizations actually. And I'll take one more minute. The enterprise risk structures in India First Life is a combination of top-down and your bottom-up approach. Now, why say it's a combination of top-down and bottom-up approach? Because risk as a whole, the tone that is required has come from the top. The strategic risk, the strategic aspects of what the organization is or is going to be in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, is specifically shown by the top-down, specifically by the senior management. Now, from a bottom-up aspect, is what is specifically is the thing that has been looked up for. The looked up for is specifically the continuous basis that we need to understand risk, we need to report structures, we need to do the activities based on the understandings rather than do the things blindly. This is one area. The second area is the identifying and reporting of risk. That is a success at our side, and the acceptance of the culture that yes, that the culture of think risk point is acceptable in the organizations. I believe I've crossed my 2 minutes actually.
Thank you for your good presentation. In
Thank
fact,
you, sir.
your main function of India First Life Insurance, your line function is basically insurance. And
Right,
you
right.
also developed a side-by-side risk management capability.
Yes, sir.
How many organizations you have served by through their risk assessment and how they have mitigated?
So actually, almost your big insurance companies have already implemented enterprise risk management function, actually, enterprise risk. But the challenges that happens is it's mostly a top-down level that happens in major companies. So as a differentiator, as an acceptability culture in India First, we have tried to bring in both as a top-down and an open bottom-up concept. So what happens is whatever, let's say, senior management decides the vision of the organization in coming years, whether that is acceptable or not acceptable, that the senior management decide, but the culture of accepting and going ahead with the risk reporting structures is a bottom-up structures that we have defined it out. Initially, it was a challenge because there's a cultural change that we try to bring in. It has taken us some time, but it's a success at our level actually. So it is a success.
No. Your team of 30 risk managers.
Yes, sir.
Is serving dedicatedly to your India First Life Insurance company, or they are also extending their consultancy services to other organizations?
No, sir. These are 30 certified risk experts are our internal employees.
For your internal consumption?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Let's say we have got 5 functions. 5 functions have got 5 risk experts. They cater to their own functions and they cater to us also.
Okay.
It's a combination. It's a both ways.
It is a
Yes,
support function.
yes.
It is a support function.
Yes,
Then
sir.
similarly, other insurance companies are also might be having their own teams such like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because
They generally have
insurance
other.
itself is a very risky business.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I know. Now I got it.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any specific question to ask you. Good
Thank you so.
presentation.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.